My name is Chárel Wright. I am from Wright Associates. I have been an insurance broker or intermediary for the past 26 years. I started in 1998 as an independent broker. I've always worked pretty much on my own. My husband was an accountant. We're still an accountant. We're an accounting and an auditing firm as well. So when I started in 1998, we found that there was quite a need in terms of the business looking at the client's insurance needs at that stage. So, in other words, because we had all the financial information available of our clients, it made it a bit easier for us to determine the client's needs and where the shortfalls were in terms of their insurance. So, that is basically how it all started. Still remember, I think our first commission check or our first check that we received from Insure at that stage was like 14 Rand. So that was like 26 years ago. And then obviously it just grew from there. Well, I think the first thing that I would say is for them not to have an expectation of buying a BMW in the first year, especially if you are going into the short term insurance space. I mean, this is something that you take years to build up an annuity income. And I think people's expectations of becoming an insurance broker and, having these massive amounts of commissions in the first year is something that they really have to look at and consider when they do come into the industry. It's something that you have to, I would advise that if you maybe have something else that you can lean on in the beginning, so in other words, an additional income that you might have, then that it is something that can work. But I mean, if you know yourself, the commissions are not always that great and people have to start somewhere. So they tend to have this expectation of becoming an insurance broker, getting rich quickly, and then life's a great party. And unfortunately, that is not how it works. It takes a long, long, long time for you to build up a good book, a good client base, and to earn the trust of people out there. And as long as they understand that that is how it works going forward, they can certainly make a success out of it. And obviously, it takes a lot of dedication as well. I mean, I was thinking the other day when I was given the award by OM Insure as the top broker in Gauteng, what made me win this award? And it was absolutely just the fact that okay, first of all, obviously, it's the opportunities that clients give me. I am forever grateful for that. Every single client, whether it's 100 Rand policy or whether it's a 50,000 Rand or 100,000 Rand a month policy, I'm forever grateful. But it's also the dedication that I have put in over the last 26 years. And I mean, I'm not trying to sound vain or anything, but it's just the fact that I answer my phone, I phone back, I stand with my client, whether it's good or bad. I never ignore a problem. I tackle it face on. Um, you know, I answer my emails. My clients never have an issue of getting hold of me, and I think that is something that new brokers have to understand, is that you have to be available for your client because there are so many other brokers out there that they can deal with. So what makes me different towards anybody else? And that is the niche market that they have to find, that distinguishes them from anybody else out there. I think maybe in the last 26 years, I might have had two instances where I had to negotiate and beg and plead the insurance companies to assist a client. But I've been very, very fortunate in that aspect. So I can really only recall one or two instances, so which I'll tell you about now, is where a client has a commercial policy and one of their employees had an accident, I think 1 o'clock in the morning, and he was driving like 160 in a 60 zone. And obviously the insurance company said, sorry, we can't help you. I mean, he didn't take the necessary due diligence and care and whatever the case might be. And due to the relationship that I had with the client, I just, I couldn't just accept that the claim was repudiated, I had to try and assist as far as I could. So what I did is I just did some homework with regards to the ombud, recent claims that were submitted to the ombud that was similar. I went and I checked up all case studies, and I submitted my information to the insurance company, to the dispute department, and a few days later they said it's fine, they're going to pay the client. So I think it's basically just going the extra mile and really making sure that you've done everything that I could do for the client. After 26 years, I feel I don't know much because of the fact that it changes so often. So how I normally stay up to date, obviously, is with your CPD points, and I read quite a lot the Moonstone documents and case studies of the ombudsman, and that's how you learn. That's how you learn about what is happening to other people, so that you can actually advise your own clients of pitfalls that there might be. But like I mentioned to you, after 26 years, there are so many things that change every year. So I have no problem if I am not sure to phone somebody at the insurance company or ask for advice. But mainly it is through obviously studies that we do and making sure that we stay up to date with any articles that are published. And obviously, like I mentioned to you, with the ombudsman as well. Well, according to the FSCA, you are supposed to have a minimum of 18 CPD points a year. So that actually gives you a lot of knowledge. It refreshes your memory or your mind with regards to insurance products. So it is important. It is a requirement of the FSCA to complete that, and that is a minimum. So if you can, try and stay on top of the things there's a lot of websites that actually do provide product knowledge, additional product knowledge, for whom you receive obviously then points after that. It all depends on the type of business. Remember, I'm not a risk surveyor. So it's very important for me to have a conversation with a client to find out where does he think he's most, what do you call it, his highest risk areas are within his business. So that's basically where I'll start off with. And then I will try and establish a good idea of what the business entails, my experience in that specific field. I will also obviously bring to the party. And then I will go through with the client on each and every uh, um, section of a policy to determine whether he feels that that could be of importance to him or not. And if he's got an existing policy already, we'll go through the existing policy schedule. So I think it's all about communication the whole time. And for me, it's very important that the client understands the product. I always pertinently try and bring that to the client's attention to make sure that he knows what does business interruption mean. What does electronic equipment mean? Because if, like they say, knowledge is power. So if he understands every single section, he knows whether it pertains to his business or not. So that's pretty much where I start off with. One thing that I've also learned in my industry is that I don't sell the client a cheap premium. I never start off with saying to the client, I'll save you 5,000 Rand or 2,000 Rand or whatever the case might be. Because I always feel that's not where you have to start. Yes, obviously you can't charge the client more, or you try and avoid charging the client more than what he's paying at the moment. But my starting point is never cheaper premiums. It's always getting the client insured correctly and then negotiating to try and see what is the best premium that I could find for him, according to his insurance portfolio. First of all, if there's any new changes on policy or policy wordings or additional benefits that may be added or whatever the case might be, I immediately communicate via my email system to my clients. So I make sure that they stay up to date. I don't think they always read it, but I do send it to them. Many of the times, if we have a Facebook platform, we have Instagram. So I think that's mainly, and obviously when renewals are done as well, we try and bring those new benefits to the attention of the client, so that they are making sure that we make sure that they are aware of any changes that may be affected on the policy. First of all, it's for me just as important to have a good relationship with the insurance company as with my clients, because they're both important. With OM Insure particularly, I've had a relationship since the start, so which is basically now 26 years. And look, we've had our ups and downs, but our ups have been more than our downs, if you understand what I'm saying. And for me, I always try and make sure that they are also happy. So I scrutinize the clients. I don't just accept any policy. If I see that there's a risk with a client, that they might be multi-claimers, or there's something niggly that's going on, I won't even refer them to the insurance company. I would rather decline that policy than trying to force something through. And because of that, the relationship I have in, specifically, let's say, Old Mutual Insure, has always been one of, I can approach them, and because of the fact that I have got such a good portfolio with OM Insure. So it's important to have a look at your clients and make sure that the clients that you're accepting or bringing to the party are also quality clients. They can't, I wouldn't say that quality isn't, look, anybody can have a claim. But you get clients that you just get this feeling, oh my goodness me, no, this is not going to work for some or other reason. And I would rather walk away from those clients to protect my reputation that I have with OM Insure. It's so difficult when you're a new broker. I mean, these things might only come over time, that you learn to get this feeling and say, no, I'd rather walk away. But it helps so much in your for your future, if you have that mindset right from the start, to rather provide quality business instead of quantity. I've always enjoyed working with people, so I love my job. I love people in general. When I started off, I think it would have been nice to have a bigger platform to obtain more technical knowledge with regards to the insurance products. At that stage, you didn't have much. You just had your IISA that you could go to and do a few courses, but it wasn't as intense as it is now with regards to education of brokers. So I think the education of brokers those years was a lot less than now. So I think that's where I would have liked more. But obviously, it's not applicable today anymore. They've got all these platforms available to them, that they can actually obtain a lot of knowledge from the start. Well, obviously, with all these weather conditions, it's and fires. I mean, I've never seen on the platform on the social media platforms means seen so many fires nowadays, and the weather conditions. So obviously, our focus used to always be theft, which it still has to be. But my focus has changed a lot with regards to the fire sections, especially on commercial policies, making sure that clients, their COC certificates are in order and their fire extinguishers are serviced. And so I'm trying to make sure that the policy terms and conditions are adhered to as far as I can. But like I mentioned, people don't always listen. They always get a fright the day that there's a claim or a loss. But I think that's where my focus has changed in terms of where the risks are at this stage with clients. If I become aware of any ombudsman case or case that was referred to them that could pertain to the terms and conditions of a policy, I immediately make sure that my clients are aware of it. So that's where I start. If there's something that comes to light, I make sure that they know about it. Um, I also, it's something that I've developed over the years. Look, I can't make sure that every term and condition is adhered to. But I think on the basic conditions, I try and make sure that the clients are aware of it. Many of the times I send them information. If, let's say, for instance, if I have a plant or risk claim and I see the information that the assessor has asked from the client, I use that same information to draft an email to my clients to say, look, remember now, if you have a claim, this is the information that they're going to ask for. Make sure your contracts are in place. Make sure that your maintenance records are up to date. So every aspect differs because I do so many aspects of insurance, but that is what it boils down to, is that if I become aware of anything specific, I let the clients know. And then on renewal, I also try and remind them of the terms and conditions that they must refer to it. And I try and highlight some of the conditions that I know a lot of clients don't adhere to, like, for instance, the fire extinguishers or COC certificates with regards to alternative energy, just to name a few. In all my years of doing this work, yeah, I've had fantastic clients. I have, but I think it's also like I mentioned, the fact that you deal with the type of clients who are basically like you are. So I don't know. I've just really, on my one hand, I deal with only the main or the top insurance companies in South Africa. And I've also learned by dealing with those reputable companies, my clients can rest assured that they're in good hands. They're in good hands with me. They're in good hands with insurance companies. And that makes a difference for me at the end of the day. During COVID, I mean, there was quite a few clients that went through the pinch. So what I normally do is I sit down with a client and I say, okay, let's have a look at your portfolio as it is now, and let's look at what you can budget for and what is very expensive to replace. I always tell the clients, look at what you can budget for, so smaller items, and then what is so expensive that you can't afford to buy it out of your own pocket again. So if you want to save money, don't necessarily run around and go to other insurance companies, because you're going to pick up a problem somewhere along the line if you get cheap insurance. Maybe not. But then rather, let's look at your existing profile. Let's see what we can adjust, what you need, what you don't need. And then I always go back to the insurance company and ask them if there's any room for additional discount, or is there anything that can be done? And then I'll go back to the client. If that has been done and we can't find any leeway in terms of cost saving, then obviously I might go back to another insurer and ask if they'll be able to assist us. But that is only if the existing insurance company can't help me. So that's what I would say, is that a client has to come back. Let's revisit your profile, see what can be done, what can't be done, and then take it from there. Your clients are extremely important. As I said, I think they as important as your insurance company, because without them you won't have a business. So look after them at all times.